Hello everyone, welcome to this fourth lecture of the Age of Industrialization. Today we will be learning about the last topic of this chapter, that is the peculiarities of Indian growth. European managing agencies were interested in certain kinds of products. They focused on tea and coffee plantations, mining, indigo and jute. These products were required for export and were not meant for sale in India. The Indian businessmen avoided competing with Manchester goods in the Indian market. For example, they produced coarse cotton yarn which was used by handloom weavers or exported to China. By the first decade of the 20th century, various changes affected the pattern of industrialization. This was the time the Swadeshi movement was gathering momentum. Industrialists organized themselves for collective bargaining with government. They pressurized the government to increase tariff protection and grant other concessions. This was the period when the export of India and Indian yarn to China declined. This was because the produce from Chinese and Japanese mills flooded the Chinese market. The Indian manufacturers began to shift from yarn to cloth production. Between 1900 and 1912, the cotton piece goods production doubled in India. Industrial growth was still slow till the First World War. The war changed the situation. The British mills became busy in meeting the needs of the army. This resulted in decline of imports to India. There was a vast home market to be catered by the Indian mills. The Indian mills were also asked to supply goods for British Army. This created a boom in industrial activities. After the war, Manchester could never recapture its lost position in the Indian market. The British industry was no longer in the position to compete with the US, Germany and Japan. Now if you see at the screen and look at the image which is there on the screen, the image is all about the first office which was opened up and established at Madras. This is actually known as Chamber of Commerce. By 19th century, merchants in different regions began meeting and forming chambers of commerce to regulate business and decide on issues for collective concerns. This was all about peculiarities of industrial growth, but we also need to know who have been predominating these industrialists. So there have been small scale industries that have been predominating the industrial growth. In spite of industrial growth, large industries formed only a small segment of the economy. About 67% of the large industries were located in Bengal and Bombay. Small scale production continued to prevail in the rest of the country. Only a small portion of the industrial workforce worked in registered factories. The share was just 5% in 1911 and 10% in 1931. The handicrafts expanded in the 20th century. The handicrafts people adopted new technology. For example, weavers started the use of fly shuttle in their looms. By 1941, more than 35% of handlooms in India were fitted with fly shuttles. The percentage was 70 to 80 in major textile hubs like Travancore, Madras, Mysore, Cochin and Bengal. Many other small innovations helped in improving productivity in the handloom sector. So small scale industries have got their own existence, and that was there to predominate these industries that have started gradually taking place of handlooms. Let's move down to the last part of the chapter, that is about market for all the goods that were then being produced for. And in that era, it was not easy to attract people to buy in the products and goods. So what were the tricks being used by the people? Let's check it out. The manufacturers practiced various ways to lure. Lure is to attract new customers. Advertisement is one of the various ways to attract the new customers. The producers from Manchester labeled their products to show the place of manufacture. The label "Made in Manchester" was considered to be the sign of good quality. Now, as and when, even when we move down for shopping, we do check for the labels, we do check for the brands. The brand stands in for quality. Same was with Made in Manchester in that era. The labels also carried beautiful illustrations. The illustrations often carried the images of Indian gods and goddesses. This was a good attempt to develop a local connect with the people. By the late 19th century, manufacturers began distributing calendars to popularize their products. A calendar has a longer shelf life than newspaper or magazines. It works as a constant brand reminder throughout a year. The Indian manufacturers often highlighted nationalist messages along with their advertisement in an attempt to develop a better connect with the potential customer. These are certain examples to show how Made in Manchester attracted people for the foreign made goods. If you look at the images clearly, you will find there are images of gods and goddesses which have regularly appeared on different labels. This was as if the association with God gave divine approval the goods being sold, and was also intended to make manufacturers from a foreign land appear somewhat familiar to the Indian people. These were some of the other tricks being used in by the manufacturers, and they have attracted Indian people to buy in their product. So this was all about the chapter Age of Industrialization. We conclude that clearly the age of industries has meant major technological changes, growth of factories, and the making of a new industrial labor force. However, as you have seen, hand technology and small scale production remained an important part of industrial landscape. Hope you have enjoyed. Thank you.